Starlit Skies and Rushing Rivers by Katy Haye. The birds were singing in the trees outside Sora's window, while inside her room her sisters flitted around her like butterflies. No, perhaps likening them to worker bees would be more apt. This was work, for all that their faces were wreathed in smiles. Sora needed to make a good impression after all. They all did. Flora pushed bangles onto her wrists, half lost in memories. Oh, the moment I saw my Hervey, I knew he was the one. I swear my heart stopped. She slapped her hand approximately over the relevant organ, which had resumed working and kept her healthy for at least the 6 years since she'd married. I knew I'd found my soulmate. She squeezed Sora's hand. It was the best moment of my life. As Flora turned away to fetch more jewellery, Sora met her other sister's eyes in the mirror. Mara paused in arranging Sora's hair. Her hands settled on her shoulders, warm as the expression in her eyes. Don't worry if there aren't thunderbolts. We can't all be as lucky as Flora, she confided. Sometimes love needs time to grow. I know that. Or at least Sora knew what her sisters told her. It was what everyone had been telling her ever since her betrothal had been arranged. She just hoped all the reassurances would mean something once she met Gerd, her intended husband. Mara finished her hair while Flora added earrings and a necklace to Sora's outfit. They'd barely finished fussing when their mother stepped into the room. Flora and Mara melted away, leaving mother and daughter alone. My beautiful, clever daughter. Her mother's eyes shone with tears, which Sora thought was odd if this was supposed to be a happy occasion. You'll make a magnificent wife and mother. Sora's chest felt hollowed out. Her mouth dried. She wanted to ask, is that all? But she knew perfectly well this wasn't the occasion for that. Her parents loved her. They'd put a great deal of work into securing a suitable match for her. This was what life was. Her sisters hadn't balked at taking the next step in their lives. But she wondered if, inside at least, they might have thought about doing so. The sight of her mother close to tears was painful, so Sora looked out of the window instead, where branches crisscrossed the bright blue sky and the birds were singing as though the noise itself might carry her away to another world. Her mother took her hand, lifting her to her feet. Just give him a chance. Sora snapped back to herself, heart thudding with the idea that her mother could somehow hear the misgivings unfurling inside her heart. She smiled. Of course, Mamma. A soft kiss brushed her cheek. All will be well. Sora's heart stuttered, as though it didn't believe the assurance. I know, she said, hoping her mother couldn't hear the lie. The first meeting was a breaking of bread, a meal shared between the two families. Sora was glad it was midsummer. A canopy had been set up in the garden, and they ate beneath it, with birdsong and the rush of the nearby river to cover any gaps in conversation. Sora greeted her husband-to-be, who was a plain, nervous-looking man about her own age. There was nothing to object to, but definitely no thunderbolts. They sat side by side, and Sora tried to eat through the lump in her throat. Gerd told her about the house they would share once married, and the job he had started recently, which would provide both for them and then for their children. Perhaps he realised her silence was not simply politeness, for he paused and asked, How many children should you like to have? Sora swallowed while her heart spiked again. I hadn't thought. Gerd chuckled. I thought that was all girls thought about. She looked up, eyes flashing before she remembered where she was and the importance of the meeting, and lowered her gaze to the ground in front of her. Not me, she said simply. Gerd hummed. My mother said you were different. He sounded pleased about the fact, as though it made Sora a more desirable prize. She had no idea how to reply, but Gerd had paused, and she felt a reply was expected. Do you ever wonder where the river goes? She blurted. From the corner of her eye she saw Gerd's expression change to one of surprise, before settling to indifference. He waved a hand. The sea, I suppose. It doesn't matter to us, does it? Sora nodded to avoid a reply. When the meal finished and Gerd had to return home with his family, he pressed kisses to her hands. I should like to get to know you better, he said, with a broad smile. Sora smiled and nodded, wishing she could echo his comment. Fortunately, no reply beyond the smile was needed. When he'd gone, her mother embraced her. Well done, sweet girl. I think he's a little smitten with you. And yet her mamma still had tears in her eyes. A week later, the meal was reciprocated by Gerd's family. Their home was only an hour away, but it was utterly different from Sora's own. There was no trace of the river this far inland. Instead, the home sat on a wide plain, edged on one side, miles in the distance, by the white-capped mountains. On the other, the tree-dotted plain seemed to continue forever, although Sora knew that was a trick of the eye. An hour away to the east lay her home and the river. Nothing continued as it was forever. Matters always changed. As they had to for her. The evening was warm and sultry, their meal once more enjoyed outside. She wasn't sure whether Gerd was smitten, as her mother thought, but he was certainly more relaxed tonight. He made easy conversation while Sora tried to keep her attention on him. But it was difficult as night fell, and the sky darkened to reveal the stars as pinpricks of light scattered across the vast firmament. Sora struggled to take her eyes off them, as though their pattern held the answers to life's riddles, if only she could get them to line up right. Despite her abstraction, her mother reported the evening to be another triumph. She'd stopped looking as though she might weep, which should be a good thing, but Sora was struggling to feel anything at all. It all faded compared to the magnificence of the sky. Arrangements for the wedding continued. Sora felt as though she were at the eye of a storm whirling around her. She didn't seem to be needed, and she barely dared to reach out in case the storm caught her and snatched her away. She couldn't avoid it forever. She was calm now, or was she simply indifferent? But the storm would sweep over her eventually. She spent a lot of time in the garden, sitting beneath the trees to listen to the birds singing and watch the water glinting on the surface of the bubbling river. For their final meeting, Gerd came to visit her. He came alone. Sora knew her parents were watching, but her mother and father gave them space, remaining out of obvious sight. She rose from her place under the willow tree and faced him. Gerd stopped a few steps away, and she wondered if he was being proper or if he wished to distance himself. "I wanted to see you," he said. Sora spread her arms as though to say, "Here I am. Look your fill." She didn't say a word. "My mother is worried." Sora choked a laugh into a cough. Why would his mother be worried? Her own was continuing as though nothing were the matter, as though Sora would fall into their plans if they were only comprehensive and detailed enough. "I'm well," she told him. It was the truth and a vast lie at the same time. "How are you?" She remembered her manners at last. Gerd stuck his hands in his pockets and watched her, head tilted as though she were a puzzle he couldn't quite make out. "I'm looking forward to our wedding," he replied. Sora looked away. Her gaze fell on the river. Perhaps that was inevitable. "Have you seen the river?" she asked Gerd. What? Of course I've seen the river." Sora stepped up to the riverbank. Gerd followed, his steps slow and reluctant, remaining a few paces away from her. The water rushed past, tumbling and turning. It felt to Sora like an expression of joy, even though she knew water could feel no such thing. She glanced at Gerd, the man she was supposed to tie herself to for the rest of her life. "Step into the river with me." She hitched up her skirts and unfastened her sandals. She glanced back. Gerd was watching in disbelief. "It's beautiful." She stepped into the stream, the stones smooth and slightly slippery beneath her feet, the rushing water chill and exciting. That was it, she realized. Not joy, but excitement. The river had no idea what lay ahead, and still it rushed forward to meet its fate. She twisted to look at Gerd, waiting on the riverbank, a frown on his face. She extended a hand, but his remained in his pockets. "My mother is right to be worried," he called, voice raised over the chattering, tumbling water. Sora smiled for the first time since this had all started. "Mothers usually are. It's one reason why I don't want to be one." Her heart flipped, recognizing the sudden truth. She clambered out of the water and walked towards the house. Gerd called out as she passed, but she ignored him. "I need better shoes," she said, to herself as much as to him. Inside the house, she put on her boots and grabbed a warm coat. "Is everything all right?" her mother asked nervously. Sora recognized the expression in her eyes. Her mother was worried too, just like Gerd's. That was mothers for you. "It's all wonderful," she replied, and returned to the garden. Gerd still stood where she'd left him, which was a shame. "I want to find out where the river goes," she told him. "Will you come with me?" He took a step, then halted, as though her sudden confidence made her unapproachable. "Sora, why are you doing this?" "I want to know," she replied. She started along the path edging the water. She didn't look back, but she could picture Gerd, standing exactly where she'd left him. After a few steps, she ceased to think of him at all. That was Starlit Skies and Rushing Rivers by Katy Haye. Please hit like and subscribe if you want to be notified when a new video is posted. Thank you for listening.